everyone, welcome back to another episode of Thrilos International, your number one English source for all things Olympiacos. My name is Costa. I'm joined by co-host Dimitris Grimtsidis from the UK and Marshall Deboeuf from France. Disappointing result tonight, we can say, against FCSB. Olympiacos goalless draw, 0-0 in the Romanian capital. Is it the end of the world? Probably not. Let's get our first reactions from our co-hosts. Dimitris, we'll start in alphabetical order. How you doing, mate? Like, give us your first reactions tonight. Like, from the football, there's been basketball as well. I know that you were watching that. What's going on, man?
Good evening, guys. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thankfully, all good. Tough night to be an Olympiacos fan, in my opinion, just because both teams, despite the football result, which was not the end of the world, as Costa said, and the basketball result, which, because of how well we've been doing recently, a loss like this is okay. It's not ruining anything. Still tough result, still tough night, just based on performance, really. We'll get into that, but yeah, one of those sort of deflating nights. But how about you, Martial? How are you feeling tonight?
It's I don't know how to put words into that because I'm not mad. I'm not happy. I'm a little bit frustrated, but I would say life goes on because we've been waiting like for shitty draws for so many years in Europa. If you look at it, because we had wins and we had like terrible losses, and I might be the only one tonight seeing some positives into that draw, because it's always better to build off a draw like that than to a frustrating loss, for example, with a better game on paper, if that makes sense. A part of that, it had to be tonight the worst game of the whole night. I'm not wrong. I think I'm not wrong saying that. Anyone that watched the whole night probably agrees with me. What else to say, man? If you want a good game, you need two teams to play. You can't play a top game with only one team. And it's not an excuse, but still.
I think this comment here is very characteristic from AB. Says the remote was thrown at the TV after that Willian pass at the end, where I think he's tried to play a crossfield ball and it's kind of hit the corner flag and gone out, and then that ended the game. But jokes aside, guys, wherever you're joining from, let us know. Drop us a comment. Let us know your thoughts on the game. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Smash that like button. It really helps us to find other Olympiacos fans on YouTube and all other social media platforms. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, etc. You find more in the description below. It's interesting what you were saying, Marshall. To me, the game today, it felt like a Greek Super League game more than a European game for moments. Like there was like some rhythm in the first half, to be fair, but it was still like, Olympiacos were missing that creative flair. No Gelson Martins. It was frustrating at times. Like, I thought we pressed really well. It was one of those games where, like, one of our better performances in terms of how we pressed, like Kostoulas and El Kabi leading from the front. And then we had traps being laid by Masouras and Kostoulas on the left, Rodinei and Danny Garcia on the right. And we were winning the ball back. We were in control of the game, but we just couldn't, find that killer pass, or whenever, the limited kind of chances we created in the first half, we couldn't finish. And I think there was what I can remember from the first half, a chance that Mouzakidis had where Ortega's gone forward, who I think, he had one of his good games. If Ortega has one good game in 3 or 4, like that was one of them today. I thought he did really well. He plays a cutback and Mouzakidis has got time, to take a good shot, and he scuffs it. And I can't really remember much else from the first half. I have some question marks about whether El Kabi should have started, but that's kind of to be expected that he did in the end. There was talk at the beginning of the game that he was complaining about a little injury or a niggle that he felt during pre warm up. So yeah, those are just some other thoughts on at least on the first half for me. And then the second half, they started better. and then there was the red card, and then it really did feel like a Greek Super League game where they just parked like 3 lines, like two big lines in front of the defense, and we were just passing the ball from side to side, crossing it in. There was one good cross from Heze, and Yaremchuk, who's been on 30 seconds, gets a decent header in, breaks his nose, and then 30 seconds later he's off, and we've got Sergio Oliveira coming on. So that kind of is kind of telling the story of the game as well. It's just like it was a bad matchup for us. It's not really a game like that suited us. We're better suited against teams that like to play football. And yeah, it was more, again, going back to what I said, felt like a Greek Super League game.
I completely agree, Costa. That last point for me is the alpha and the omega of the whole situation, the A and the Z, the whole thing, the top and tail. It's this what Will Dellis is saying here in the comment. Anyone else upset with the tactics? Where's the intensity in the final third? Felt like we were waiting for them to make a mistake. No runs in the box after passing. I've said it time and time again. I've said it after the game against Rangers. We are a team that relies on the other team coming at us and counter-pressing them and waiting for their mistake and scoring off the back of that. We are not a team that breaks down defenses under Mendilibar, which is why we have won the majority of the big games and struggled against lesser opposition. Look at it in the Greek league. You look at it in Europe, especially towards the tail end of last season. All the European games that we won were against theoretically better opposition to us on the Mendilibar, apart from the Maccabi game. But the Maccabi game was just a crazy, crazy game. But the Fenerbahce, Aston Villa, and Fiorentina were all teams that weren't going to sit back and just let us attack because they thought they were the better team. So they came at us. We gegenpressed them, we counter-pressed them, we won the ball back, and we scored based on that. And we sort of had that our foot on their necks from the start. This season, again, the game, they're a team that they're not going to sit back and play shit. The derbies are not necessarily our biggest issue on the Mendilibar this season, which is a stark contrast compared to Martin's, where if I'm not mistaken, we couldn't win a derby for quite a long time. And now in Europe as well, apart from the Lyon game, which we were objectively shite, and they were just better everywhere. The games that we've won are against theoretically better opposition that you're not expecting us to win. Like Braga is a top Portuguese team, and we absolutely destroyed them. Why? Because we stole the ball based on their mistakes and scored. Malmo, theoretically away from home against the best team in Sweden. Not the easiest game. We go in there and win 1-0, and I think we're the better team throughout the game. Rangers and Steaua Bucharest, I don't know why they're called FSSB. I don't know if this is... I swear when we were younger, they were always called Steaua Bucharest. You're muted, mate, so I can't hear you. Why are they called
you didn't watch the preview yesterday. There's this whole story about like this the owner that they have right now. He bought the club, and what was that? The rights were transferred from the military, like Department of Defense, to this new owner. And then now there's a legal case between the Ministry of Defense and the new owner, and they've had to change the logo and call it FCSB. And now the government has their own club in the second division, but because they're publicly owned, they can't go to the top division. Some crazy shit. Yeah,
that's classic Balkans. If you want to know what the Balkans are like, to anyone who has never been to Greece or visited Greece or knows a lot about Balkan football and Eastern European football, there's your little summary. Yeah, that was a little tangent, but where I was going with that is the European games that are theoretically harder, excusing the Lyon game, which was just shit. The harder games we've won, the theoretically easier games, Rangers at home and FCSB away, which we all sort of expected to win, theoretically, are the games that we've struggled with. And to me, it's got to the point that it's not a surprise anymore. It's actually a little bit of a disappointment because someone, like Mendilibar, should have figured it out by now. And it just goes back to when we first signed Mendilibar nearly a year ago now, having that first show. And I remember we were on the show and discussing how he's a very stubborn manager and it's sort of his way, or how is he going to adapt if things aren't going necessarily his way? And we're seeing that. We're seeing a team that has absolutely zero answers to an opposition team that sits back and defends. We cannot break down a low block. We cannot break down a team that parks the bus, and it's it's tiring, man. Like, it's deflating. It's like what the comments are saying. It's deflating. It's just not enjoyable.
The thing I was wondering while watching the game is that how many players do you think are currently playing fearing that they could get injured at any moment? Because when you look at Willian, for example, the way he runs, we can debate the quality of Willian, but when you look at Willian from last season in Fulham, he's playing high-intensity games during the whole season. But he came to us with high expectations, and he got injured like almost straight away, and he's coming back, he's getting injured, he's coming back, he's getting injured, the pressure gets higher. When you look at him playing, he's fearing to get injured. Like the situation, he fight for the ball, and he hold his leg at the end. I'm sure he got injured again. And a lot of players this season, for some reasons, I don't know, either they get injured or they play with that fear of missing something. And the summer signings shows that, like Hazer, Velde, Yaremchuk, like the final pass of Willian is a perfect example. Why on earth would you try that? That you know you're gonna miss that, and the effect after that is worse. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna say psychological, but the physical aspect of the team is instilling fears for me into some players, because Costulas has been very good technically, but mainly because of the energy he brings. He fights for every ball, and he's getting into hard duels, and we saw that tonight. And he's not fearing to get injured. Put Willian on that, and he's getting broken to 3 pieces probably.
Martial, I have a question for you though. I completely understand what you're saying. However, why would someone with the career of Willian, who knows his career is about to end, right? Theoretically, in the next couple of seasons, it will be ending. The man is 36. He has left the Premier League. He's gone to the Greek League for maybe 1-2 seasons, he's thinking, and then maybe go back home to Brazil or Saudi Arabia or whatever. He doesn't have a lot left. Why is someone like that worried to get injured? Because your career is ending anyways. You're not 23 years old where an injury is going to destroy everything. He's had a huge career. Yeah. He's achieved so much. Why would he be thinking like this? Just man up, stop being a pussy and play.
Mate, can I just say something? As a 38-year-old that was still playing football,
you don't look it. You look about 29, mate.
Mate, okay, yeah, obviously never played at that level, but when you're that age and you haven't like trained, I imagine when you haven't trained with a team since June, when the Premier League ended, you've joined at the end of the summer, you haven't played, you've picked up injuries, and you're coming back again now after a month. It's not like you can't just pick it up and expect him to be the player he was at Fulham at the end of last season, or in general the way he was. And a player at that age, like, he feels his body different. So like, I'm not ready to write him off completely yet. I'm disappointed so far because we're nearly December. And we haven't seen anything, like no goal contributions from Willian. The one positive thing I can remember from him is the press, I think, that led to the third goal against Braga when he'd come on as a sub and he was playing behind the striker. And that's it. But we've had plenty of examples of just being a bit too hasty with new players. And
no, I agree.
Just to talk about like some positives of the game, because there are some positives, like you said, limited at the beginning of the show. Danny Garcia, the last 3 games he's played, and mate, you can go back some videos, some live streams we did maybe a month ago, and I was saying, I don't want to see this guy ever again. Like, I'm done. But, you know, I also thought that we're still figuring the midfield out, right? And it's the first time we've seen a steady midfield of Muzakidis and Heze starting the last 3 games, like 2 derbies, a European game. We were wondering whether Heze would walk back into the lineup today. He didn't. He stayed on the bench. Chiquinho too. He stayed with that pairing in midfield of Muzakidis and Danny Garcia. And I think that's just an example for everyone. Danny Garcia got injured at the beginning of preseason. Like he's an older head, he's an older body. So like I'm not ready to write Willian off completely right now. And I think that the Danny Garcia example that Iborra last season is something we should just keep in mind. Like that's just one thing I wanted to say.
Costa, I agree. I fully agree because I never want to write off anyone. Just like last year, you saw Jovetic and then Bora being crucial towards the end, especially Bora, especially in the big games.
Both of them.
But yeah, like some crucial calls. Jovetic showed his class, but Iborra was genuinely crucial to like plenty of minutes in the game, not just like coming on as a substitute. So no, I'm 100% not writing anyone off. All I'm saying is mine was just a backup, a follow-up to what Martial was saying about the injury. Yeah, I'm disappointed, but like I this excuse that like someone's injured and he's been injured for a long time, someone with the experience and the career Willian has had, I don't know. It's just soft. It's a soft excuse. It really is a soft excuse. And if you go back to when we had our what signing we're most excited about, that all the hosts did, and when we posted it on socials at the end of the transfer window, mine was Willian. I was most excited about Willian, a player of his caliber, coming to Olympiacos. And he wasn't like a coat. He wasn't a palto, like someone who hadn't been playing for a long time, like Marcelo, or James, who would sort of come from nowhere in like Saudi Arabia or like the ends of the bench and hadn't played in like 3 years. This is a man who was a regular for Fulham last year, for a Premier League side that exceeded expectations. Fulham were better than expected last year and have been for the last couple of seasons under Marco Silva. Big shout out to our former manager, one of my favorites that we've had. So that's my issue with Willian. That I'm just like, it shouldn't be an excuse. You haven't just been idle for like 3 years. Man the fuck up, fix whatever issues you've got, and just play. Sorry, it's just it pisses me off a little bit.
The issue for me comes back to the summer, but not only due to players. I'm still trying to understand what really happened during the summer, because when you have so many players getting injured, it's not about like, we can't have that conversation only about like Willian or Velde or Yaremchuk, because basically Yaremchuk just broke his nose off the biggest situation of the game tonight. But if you take a look, you have Pirola, Retsos, Ortega, Rodinei, Heze, Chiquinho, Willian, Gelson, Noah Yaremchuk. Like, it's like almost 10 players. They all got injured. And there is no week in which Mendilibar have the full squad available to actually either train or make choices to shape his team. And now we're going into the winter, and I think it's going to get difficult until January, because we can't sign player before January, of course. And I don't know, that's why this game tonight is so weird, because it's fresh off 2 big derbies we won by playing nicely, I would say. We lost some players, like even El Kabi tonight. Look at, if you have a individual camera on El Kabi, you look at his movements, you look at the way he passes the ball. Like, he was playing with almost like 50%. He was fearing to get injured. And I don't know how to say that, but we were grinding for a result. And that's why a draw for me is not bad. I'm not saying it's good, but it's not bad.
I mean,
sorry, go.
you can't find a single Olympiacos fan that's happy tonight, whether it's football or basketball. And obviously, you want to go there and win. But look, where are we right now? We are 14th in the standings. We're playing against a side that was ahead of us in the standings. I think they're 10th now. But it's
they're
very
2 points
tight.
ahead of us.
It's very, very tight. Like the teams that are in the playoff position where we are right now, I think you look at it, it's super tight. And then everyone that's outside that has 3 points, and we've got 8 now, if I'm not mistaken. We've got 2 wins, 2 draws, and a loss. And we've got 3 games to go, 2 at home. The next game's at home against Twente. Then we go away to Porto, another team that's going to be vying for top 8 like us. And we've got the last game at home against Karabag. Like, I like those 3 games. Like 2 games at home and then an away game against Porto where you're going to be going in as the underdog. You're not going to have possession of the ball, and you're going to be in a situation that we like to be in as a team. That's a game that I'm looking forward to against Porto away, because I think we can get 9 points out of these 3 games that we have left. So this is far from over. And we can, this discussion about, I saw a comment earlier about Labros's comment on, where is it? Concept Calcio, very loyal friend and follower of this podcast. Shout out to you and everybody else that's following at midnight Central European time. It's 1:00 in Greece. Some people from Australia in here, US. I don't know. Let us know where you're.
Happy Thanksgiving to our American fans, by the way.
Happy Thanksgiving to those that are celebrating. And also, I want to give a big shout out to the 5,000 Greek, Olympiacos supporters that were in Bucharest tonight. Massive shout out. That's the most, I think, away fans they've ever seen for an FCSB game. So big shout out to them. Concept Calcio's comment: can we put to bed Labro's idea that the squad is better than last year? Oliveira, Velde, Garcia, William, Yaramchuk have offered nothing. I mean, we don't, if you want to comment on that, you can, but like that's such a huge conversation. And that conversation, I think, can be had on on its merits at the end of the season when we know what we've done.
You mean, for example, like Kini being key to a Conference League trophy, for example?
Mate,
I would have paid money to throw him back to Spain in January.
Mate, the assist against Villa at home, the block that led to the counter-attack for the goal in the final.
I think Kini was one of the players that I actively called out the most last season.
Mate, he's the Spanish Tassos Pardos.
Oh no, that's an insult. It's still an insult to Tassos Pardos, please.
The Spanish, the village, like the Spanish version, but like the real village Spanish version of Tassos Pardos. Can I call it that? The people agree in the comments.
The difference. Yeah, sorry, go Marcial.
No, I just wanted to be more positive because everyone keeps saying that the summer was tragic, but I think I can name 2 good things that happened this summer. The first one is Costinha. Well, it was signed during the winter, but it came during the summer. And him and Pirola probably will turn out to be massive transfer for Olympiacos. Not only about the quality, but those 2 players, basically, I can smell that they will be sold for good money.
Who's that, sorry?
Pirola and Costinha.
Mate,
Pirola has been better than Carmo, man. We have to say that. We have to say it.
Mate, everybody, I think there would be quite a few people before today's games that are thinking, okay, Carmo's out, but again, it isn't just you, me, Dimitri that have been a little bit underwhelmed by Carmo. I going into this game, I wasn't worried. I'd heard a lot about Birligia, their striker, being quite strong, like good with his back to goal, etc. Mate, didn't touch the ball today. Like Pirola was brilliant. And again, that's kind of a reflection of the game today, isn't it? It's like, guys, who was our best player on the pitch? It was either Pirola or Ortega today, in my opinion. And there is a poll ongoing for those of you that are following from YouTube. Like, go and cast your vote. Who you think who you think man of the match was tonight? Check it out. Dimitri, you're itching to say something.
I've got so much stuff to say. Can you remember a few months ago how worried we were about centre backs? Like, if someone said to you, our best position, our most filled up position with quality players would be centre back right now, because you'd have Carmo, Pirola, and Retzos, and you're like, fuck, if one of them's out, I'm calm. I've got the other two. This is just how Olympiacos moves, man, and the fan base and the patience and everything. Like, it's insane. To anyone who supports another team outside of Greece, please back me up on this, because I swear to God, I have two different minds about the two different teams I support. And I don't know about you guys, but it's like I switch on my Greek mind the minute I'm talking about Olympiacos, and I try to suppress that shit. But it's insane how quickly things change. And it's just, it ties into what you were saying about the comment earlier from Concept Culture about the differing squads between last year and this year. I can't say, I don't want to put that conversation to bed, because last year's squad was given time, and you're judging it at the end of the season with the success that we saw with the European trophy, right? You're not judging it. You're not judging this year's squad at the end of the season. You're judging it in November. It's not the same. It's not the same. Last year, up until February, we wanted to literally scratch our eyes out.
Yeah.
With some of the shit we were seeing, right? So it's not. I don't think it's a fair comparison. And sorry, and again, another point that's completely off, but it's something that you brought up before. I was writing everything down that I wanted to address. You were talking about the upcoming games and how you think the Porto game is actually the one you're most excited about. I completely agree. What I disagree about is that we're going to get 9 points. To me, this screams 5 points. A win against Porto, believe it or not, and then 2 draws against the lesser opposition at home.
Oh,
my light's spazzing. Bear with me. Looks like paranormal activity. Yep, fixed it. But that's what I'm seeing. Based on Olympiacos and the Olympiacos that we've seen since Mendilibar has taken over, I think we might actually get a result against Porto, theoretically one of the best teams in the Europa League. And I can't see us beating neither Twente nor Karabag, especially not Karabag. Twente, we might actually get a good result against, because they're a Dutch league team. Teams from big leagues don't come to just sit back and defend. They don't have this like complex.
It's not in their mentality. It's not in their mentality.
They play for a big league. They think that they're dog's bollocks. They think they're better than teams from lower leagues. Who have we struggled against? We've struggled against Rangers from the Scottish League, even though they're one of the 2 best teams in the Scottish League. But the league is shit, and whenever they go play in Europe, they're always just like, "Oh, we're going to sit back." We struggled against Steaua, again, another shit league. And we've been, I mean, Lyon game, forget about that. But we've beaten Braga, a Portuguese team, which is one of the best leagues in Europe, and we've beaten Malmo, a team that has a bit of more European pedigree. Than in my opinion, Steaua and Rangers. And no, Gio, look, I'm being called out here for calling the Dutch league a top league. I'm sorry, a league that has Ajax, PSV Eindhoven, Feyenoord. You're telling me that's not a top league? Feyenoord last season had the best manager in the world, who's this season's at Liverpool, and he's proving it, right? Like, and that's not just me being a Liverpool fan. Ajax, we all know who Ajax and PSV are. Like, why not?
Alkmaar won the Youth League before us.
Sorry?
Alkmaar, they won the Youth League the year before us.
Yeah, Alkmaar, again, another big team, like, and the Dutch national team, they have this mentality. The Portuguese are the same, the Spanish are the same, the Italians are the same, the French are the same, the Germans are the same. These are the English are the same, 6 or 7 top leagues. They are never going to come and just sit back and just be like, okay, you have it, do whatever you want. No, they're going to come and because they think they're better than everyone else in Europe. Well, against the teams from lower opposition. That's my opinion when it comes down to it. So I think Porto we might actually get a result against, and the other two we might struggle more, especially Karabag, because I don't see Karabag coming to play football against us.
I just want to address something. I mean, why Yaremchuk is being talked about tonight? I just wonder why.
He didn't play tonight. He hasn't played.
He came in, he almost scored, and that's it. He played like 5 minutes.
Not even, man.
He didn't even play 5, I don't think. I think he played a minute. Technically, from the minute he came on until the minute he went down with injury, I think it was about a minute.
How come the guy can be written off? Like, I mean, that's something I wanted to say at first. It's when Yaremchuk came in, we were due to play with 2 strikers, with Yaremchuk replacing Kostulas, basically. And you'd throw Velde along to him, Velde that is struggling, he needs to find confidence. He comes in with a specific shape, then what happens? Yaremchuk gets injured. So who's replacing him? Oliveira. So you shift back with another completely different tactical approach, and you have Velde, you have Willian on the sides, and you have El Capi. You have like 2 players that are playing almost injured, and the one that has no confidence. It's not working. You don't have to be magician to see that.
Can I ask you both a question? Did either of you get the impression that some Olympiacos players didn't want to give the ball to Velde in the second half when he came on?
I don't think he even touched the ball.
I don't think it was a purposeful thing.
So there, like, you saw him like trying to get himself into space, like down that right-hand side. Rodine's got the ball. The moments you're just like, give him the ball, because he's the only, like, one of the only players on the team that can make something happen out of nothing. You're waiting for something from him, and I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it.
No, the comments seem to be agreeing with you. Look, AB saying Eze didn't pass him the ball, and Rodine as well.
Yeah.
So maybe
there were moments where, like, we were talking with a Polish journalist over the last kind of week, 10 days, and there's a YouTube video he's done which is in Polish, and basically he's talking about some things that happened in the locker room, or some things that were happening at Lech Poznan in the previous season. And it was a lot of the focus was on Velde, and how at the beginning of the season, or it was hard for him. Like, he went in with this kind of alpha male mentality of, I'm the best, give me the ball, and wasn't a team player, didn't fit in very well. It's kind of, clashing with his teammates, etc. And, that even led to some issues, I think, with the coach. And he was under fire for a lot of the same reasons he's under fire right now at Olympiacos. Mendilibar's not playing him because he's dismissing his defensive duties, for example. But that's all negative. But then the Polish journalist says that there was a certain moment last season where it just clicked, and then, like, it was game over for the Polish league, and then you couldn't stop him, and that was recognized by all his teammates. And I wonder if he's going to have that chance. Is he going to find that moment, like, where it clicks and he becomes that player that we saw glimpses of during the friendlies this summer? But I just thought that's interesting, like an interesting story, interesting context for anybody that hadn't heard that before, in terms of just, getting to know the player and trying to understand what's going on with him right now.
I'd heard the story, and it wouldn't be a surprise for that to have happened. However, I think my biggest issue is that he did kick on really well. He came on and sort of hit the ground running with the friendlies. I thought he was one of our best players in preseason. Yeah. And it's, instead of him carrying on that momentum and going forwards, it's sort of gone backwards. Which is what's upsetting me, because I don't think it's the other players not passing the ball and having a bad mentality. I think something's happened and his confidence has taken a hit. Because for me, There's no other logical explanation. Obviously, there could be something that's illogical, and I'm not saying that this is the case, but this is what makes sense to me. He's had a couple of games where he's been shit, and then boom, confidence just gone. And maybe he's maybe he's a real confidence player. I'd be surprised if it's something else than that, because he's not a player that came in and seemed to have caused trouble and just been shit and having bad attitude from the start, because he seemed to be decent, good in preseason. I thought he was I said it. I thought he was one of our best players.
He was. Yeah.
I'd be quite surprised if there's beef. I'd be quite surprised.
I mean, I'm getting trolled now. So save that clip from Costa when he leaves in the summer for the US. Okay, mate, what are you going to do when he doesn't?
Don't worry, people are calling me out from the Dutch league.
No. Just like, okay, like let's make it interesting. Like, if he doesn't leave for the US in the summer, what are you going to do?
Where would he go if he doesn't leave for the US?
You can clip me and you can do whatever you want. He's giving BL vibes. Hard for a creative player, Olympiacos, who doesn't hit the ground running. I mean, I beg to differ. Like, BL did hit the ground running, and then we signed James Rodriguez. Does anyone remember that? Anyway, like, let's not talk about that season.
No, but sorry, and another one here. Slightly, we're having two different conversations, but people are having a go at me for my previous comments and having a go at you at the same time. But Rolf is saying, bit late with this, but as a Swede, I can't let Demetrius' comment that Malmo is of higher European pedigree than Rangers slide. That basically what he's saying. That
I've been in the Champions League more regularly than Rangers.
Yeah, Rangers are a historical team, but where have Rangers been since you've been alive, Rollface? I don't know how old you are, but if you're around my age, bro, like, I swear to God, I have not seen Rangers. They had a Europa League final in 2008. Am I mistaken? I think they lost to Sevilla. They were bankrupt and they're in the 4th division. I mean, they did an act, basically. Then they came back. They won one league title under Gerrard, and Celtic have just been sweeping them ever since. And I don't think they've really done anything in Europe, whereas Malmo have been in the Champions League. Like we can't just base this all in this old school. Fuck, I'm probably being called out. They got to the Europa League final 2-3 years ago. Did they fuck? Did they actually?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna shut up. Did they actually?
Yeah. No, they did.
When did they get to the Europa League final?
But mate, that was like a fluke season where they had like Morelos.
Oh my God, that guy that kept getting red cards. That kept scoring and then getting red cards in the same game.
The Colombian striker that he'd been on our radar the last 2 seasons. Had an incredible season and then flopped.
Sorry, I fully forgot about that. Who did they lose to? Was it against Sevilla?
I can't remember. It doesn't matter. They lost, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, my point. I thought my point was valid. I swear to God, I felt like I hadn't seen them in Europe for a very long time. But that's just probably
they lost to Frankfurt, man.
Who did they lose to? Eintracht Frankfurt.
Yeah, with Santos Borre, we tried to sign to Olympiacos.
Fuck me. Wait, I need to look this up. 2021, 2022. Wow, penalties and everything.
Isn't that the proof that the game of tonight was pretty weak in terms of analysis, because we're talking about everything but the game at the end of
it. Also, there's close to 150 people in here, and there's 20 likes. There's lots of you that are active in the chat tonight. If you haven't liked, guys, help us out. Throw us a like. It is very good for the algorithm. Helps us find more Olympiacos fans around the world. Helps us to grow the community. Costs you nothing, means the world to us. So if you haven't done that, please consider a quick like. Thank you very much. It's true, we haven't really talked much about the game, but like, then again, I mean, what more do you want to say about the game, Marshall?
The only last positive sign I wanted to say was Ortega was very good for me defensively. We needed that from the fullback, because we played against such an aggressive team. I don't recall any team we played recently being that aggressive, and I think that was a good opposition. We're not used to play against that in Greece. And I don't know how to put that, but clean sheet on games like that is always good, because how many times we ate shitty goals, with bad pass or penalty. And I think the issue people have with the team is that we are improving on some area when other area are getting weaker. Like, for example, when Gelson gets injured, it it fucks the offensive area that was getting better with Costulas, El Kaabi, and Gelson together. But at the same time, you have Pirola showing that it was a good signing. You have Ortega coming back. You have Costinha being very consistent defensively. So, it's, yes, we had a bad summer. We've signed players that are probably finished, but Mendilibar constantly trying to fix some area, and also problem arose every fucking time. No, he's losing Yaremchuk for Sunday. Question mark over El Kaabi if he's injured or not. Like, it's probably one of the most difficult seasons he has to deal with, along to the one with Sevilla, because Sevilla was dying as a club. And I think that's our job as fans, to really see that the result is one thing, but the logic of the team, how is building the team, is different. And Dani Garcia, for example, is improving, and that's a massive improvement. We are forced to go step by step, and it's not only due to the quality of the team. It's Costa or Dimitris, that probably it's one of the most unlucky season when it comes to injury. Last season, man, I don't recall anyone being injured. Like Akabi, not injured. Like Pudense, Fortunis, Heze,
You need that, bro. You need that for the success. You need to have few injuries. You can't succeed with a lot of injuries. And I agree with Marcial with what you said at the start about the clean sheets, and you said it right at the start of the show. And I haven't had a chance to touch upon it yet, but you were saying how, like, in other seasons we would have lost that game, and for me the huge and even though we would have played better, to me the huge comparison, game wise, is Freiburg at Karaiskakis at the start of last year, the first game that we lost 3-2, which I thought
agree.
we were the better team. I thought we should have won that game 4-1. We ended up losing that game 3-2. And we were miles better than we were today. But today we've come away with a point away from home. And last year we came away with 0 points at home. And that to me is arguably one of the very few positives from tonight. But it is materialistically a huge positive. Because that's what champions do. That's what big teams do. They get the result even on a bad night. And I know it wasn't the result that we wanted, but last year we fucking we lost. We lost this game. We lost we got a draw against what was that? Back to Topola. Yeah, the 2-2 when Retos got the red card.
Yeah.
That game should have ended like 6-0, and then it ended 2-2. Do you know what I mean? Like Ndoi, yeah, it was Ndoi.
But you're right. And also, what I wanted to say with the injury is that there is not a single team in the world that can afford to lose key players. Like, we are not Real Madrid.
Manchester City are literally going through it right now. No Rodri, and they've lost 4 games in a row and haven't won in like 6.
I'm not telling people to be happy with the draw, but we need to get back on her sometime, because we are seeing the Europa League reality this season through the Conference League title, and it blinds us a little bit. It means that we are a massive club, but we can't fix multiple things at the same time, especially when you cite some player that might look finished on paper, but that's the reality of football for me. Like, the only consistent team in Europe probably has to be either Liverpool or Atalanta, for example. Atalanta has to be an example of building of the success in Europe, but it's a question of coach. The philosophy they have with Gasperini is stronger than the club itself, probably. And we kind of have that with Mendilibar, because he still has results even with those injuries, and the back-to-back derbies are probably the game changer we needed, because that's what made that draw emotionless for me tonight, because the priority is to win back the league. And to be good in Europe, of course, it goes together,
But then we kind of come back to what we've been saying as well, that in the grand scheme of things, you're coming off 2 derby wins, a draw today, which in another season we would have lost that game tonight. And we've got a point. And okay, beating the drum again. Disappointed not to win. They've gone down to 10 men, but are we surprised? No, because it did feel like one of those Greek games in the end. And we are suffering. I do have one other question, like pertaining to the game, and it goes back to Velde. Do you think you should have brought Velde on instead of Willian earlier? Played him out on the left, get him some touches on the ball, allow him to run, cut inside. That's like one criticism I certainly have of the manager today. Like, you're bringing Willian on. You know, he's got all those things I said. He's an old body coming back from injury. You're bringing him on the 55th, 60th minute, and you're leaving Velde on the bench and bringing him on the 75th. He's got 15 minutes to do something, and we're calling him finished because he couldn't do anything out on the right, where we know he's not as good as he is out on the left, where he can run at people, cut inside. Now, what did you guys think of that?
My opinion is the more it goes and the more I watch football, people will say, okay, shut up, Martial, with that saying, but the 5 subs rule has completely fucked football. Like, you will find one change out of 5 or 6 that makes sense in a game. And I agree with you, Costa. Tonight, you basically had to change probably Yaremchuk with Kostulas, because Kostulas was tired. You needed to throw Velde earlier for either Rodinei or Costinha to put him on the right wing to create more danger, and probably a last sub with a midfielder if by miracle we scored a goal and we needed to fight for the 1-0.
I mean, there's one name. There's one name we haven't said like all the show. Masouras.
Yes, we needed to come off at halftime.
Yeah. But besides pressing, contribution was 0.
Another person who's fully lost his confidence. Another player who's, you see it with Greece, you see it with Olympiacos.
It's a different player when he plays for Greece. He's a different player.
He's gone. Masouras his confidence is in Tartarus at the moment, in my opinion. He doesn't think he's got the manager's trust, and it's clear when he plays.
He's a bloody club captain.
Yeah.
He needs to man up. Like,
he needs to man up. Fully agree. Costa, I agree. Should have brought in Velde in the 55th minute rather than Willian. Willian, he's got the quality, but as you said, he's not fit. He's not ready. He hasn't shown enough. Whereas Velde's younger. Velde has more to offer. Should have played longer. We saw it in pre-season. Velde should have come on the 55th minute and Willian the 75th. I fully agree about that. Completely disagree with Martial about the 5 subs rules. I think it's one of the best things they've ever brought into football. I think more subs is better for the game, less tiredness. Just because we have shit subs and shit players on the bench that aren't producing right now.
I don't think it doesn't apply only to Olympiacos, but I think the thing is, like, for example, coaches like Mendilibar have a very huge squad. They due to make choices out of it. And when you have 5 subs, sometimes it's okay to use it. I like the rule, but the managers are using it every game. You can't sub 5 players every game because it's half of the team. And
you don't have
nowadays,
to use it. You don't have
to use it, but they all use it.
Yeah, but you don't. No one's forcing them. Today he wasn't going to use them. He wasn't going to use it until Yaremchuk got injured. He was going to use 4.
No, I agree. But
Martial, I think the 5 sub rule is important in case something happens and in case it's needed and in case you need fresh legs. And in case you're winning and you want to rest your right back or your left back that's been playing non-stop. Let's say we were winning this game 1-0 or 2-0, right?
yeah,
Perfect
you
opportunity in the 80th minute to bring off Rodinei, who's played probably every single minute this season, right? Or perfect opportunity to take off El Kabi.
No, I
With 3
agree, but
subs, you can't do that. That's what I mean.
yeah, but with the 5 subs, you still have 3 sessions, so you needed to sub off Masouras as halftime.
Yeah, no, I agree. Masuda should have come on at halftime, and everyone knows in this chat, in this show, how much I love Masudas, and this is what everyone's saying about his hustle, and everyone knows that everyone appreciates Masuda's passion and hustle, but this year so far, it's just not enough. It really isn't enough.
Okay, well, we're coming up to an hour of the show today. I got one more question for you guys. We are coming closer to halfway point this season, certainly in the domestic league, and yeah, it's nearly Christmas time. Guys, do you have your best 11 with this squad? Who's your starting 11 right now? Marshall, I'll start with you.
Does that include injury? Sorry, before we start, does this include
Yeah,
injury?
if you look at our squad right now, what's our
if
best
everyone's
starting?
fit, if
If everyone's fit, who do you want playing? Starting 11.
I would say Tsolakis, Costinha, Retos, Pirola, Ortega.
Pirola over Carmo, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then in the midfield, I would say Mutakitis, Heze. I know it's difficult because maybe Chiquinho and Heze. No, but I need a winger. It's Gelson, Costulas, El Kaabi, and maybe Mutakitis, Chiquinho, and Heze. If I had to pick, because we don't have a proper wide winger, I would say, so I'm choosing a different midfield. I think Chiquinho can fill the gap, so that's
like he did in the derby against Bauk.
I'm choosing Costinha over Rodinei for me. I assume my take.
Mitchell?
It's tricky because I'm really autistic with some things and I don't like playing players out of position. So I agree with everything apart. So Zolakis, Ortega left back, Rodinei right back. Right back, I think, is the only position I'm happy with both players. I just prefer Rodinei as a player to Costinha. I think he offers more going up and down. He's my favorite player for Olympiacos. I can't see him coming out ever unless you bring. I really can't see him getting subbed out compared to anyone. Retos and Carmo. I still think Carmo is a better defender than Pirola, but I'm more than happy with Pirola being the substitute and coming on. The midfield, probably the same. Muzakitis, Heze, and Chiquinho. This is the issue. I don't think we have a winger that can play opposite Gelson Martins. Like Gelson Martins, obviously one winger. Alcabi's obviously up front, and I want to say Costulas, but I don't want Costulas on the wing. I want him behind Alcabi, but equally I don't want Chiquinho on the wing. So it's weird because you need to have someone on the wing unless you're just playing with Rodinei running up and down the flank on his own, which he can do. So actually, this is gonna be my controversial one. It's gonna be El Kabi, Costulas off behind him, playing as like the second striker, but not like up front, more like a
second striker,
like a sweeper. But ahead of the center attacking midfielder, but behind the striker, like an in between false 9 position,
mate. And then, even you remember when we played Villa last season? We went to Villa Park. You were at the bloody game.
Yeah.
Like Chiquinho, or like when we're off the ball and we're pressing, Chiquinho was playing in that kind of role, centre mid, like between centre mid and the right hand side of the pitch, where he was pressing and he was covering. And
it's what Henderson used to do for Liverpool sometimes.
It's like all right, another quirky Liverpool comparison, signature trademark from the Midri. But on paper, it looks like a 4-2-3-1. But then when it shapes up on the field, you've got Costulas and El Kabi like leading the line when we're off the ball and they're pressing, and then you've got Chiquinho like in a line of four with the four midfielders, Gelson, Heze, Muzakitis, and Chiquinho. And then it kind of changes, as needed throughout the game. And Costulas kind of comes out on the, or even you see El Kabi out on the right pressing, and Costulas at the point. But I think those things are still being tweaked, like those elements that we saw last season that made us so successful. We're starting to see them transition into this team, or at least I think I've seen that in the derby games, like against Bauk, against AEG, little elements again of the press today that made us successful last season. So I think like that is a positive to take as well from not just today's game, but like the last three games in general, and having this conversation about building a team. And it's kind of part of the reason why I asked you the question, like, what's our best lineup? But I think I more or less agree. I mean, we're almost on point, all of us. I think our disagreements are on who to start at right back, which I expected from you, Dimitri, having Trent Alexander-Arnold as your right back at Liverpool.
He can fuck off to Real Madrid. Conor Bradley now.
He can't
Did you see
defend
what he did to Kylian Mbappe? He sent Mbappe back to
Spirit.
France. Yeah, fuck Trent Alexander-Arnold.
That I enjoyed. But I'd probably go with Castagna at right back as well over Rodinei right now. But that's no like diss to Rodinei. I think Rodinei is fantastic, and like Matt, he's played right back this season. He's played right wing. He's played left wing against AEG in the second half, and I think that there's little disagreement about whether we should have renewed him or not. I think he's a good player to have on the squad. Carmo Pirola is a tricky one. If you've got those players at their best, you're playing Carmo, right? Now, it's a tough one because I think Pirola looks really good. Pirola looks really good. I really like him. But if Carmo's at his best, then Carmo plays. And then for the rest, none of us have said Danny Garcia, have we? No. None of us have said Danny Garcia. It's got to be that Muzakitis, Heze, Chiquinho triangle, and then, Gelson, El Kabi, Costulas. That's where, and none of us have got Velde. None of us have got Velde either.
Yeah, but we all have Costulas and Muzakitis. No, did Marcel have Costulas? I don't remember.
Yeah,
but there you go. Costulas and Muzakitis are two kids that within a few months, all three of us have in our starting 11s. Do you know what I mean? Like that's beautiful.
Four Greeks in all our starting 11s, is it? Yeah.
Today we had 5, bro. 5 today. Oh no, you're talking about 4 of us, as in the 3 of us. Yeah. But I was going to say, like, we had 5 Greeks in the starting 11 today, and we were saying this before we started. But someone in the comments, guys, if you can tell me the last time Olympiacos had 5 Greeks in a starting 11 of a European game, I'd really appreciate it, because I can't remember the last time we had 5 in the starting 11. It would be great if someone could tell me that, because I enjoyed that. But this is something that my dad was asking me, because we had both the football and the basketball, and it's a good way to transition to the basketball before we finish. But he was like, there's no Greek players playing for Olympiacos in the basketball. And I was like, well, why should there be? Is there anyone who deserves to be playing? Olympiacos above Greece. Olympiacos above everything. I want my team to win. If the best players are going to play and the Greek players aren't good enough, why should they be playing? Whereas for Olympiacos football team, we're seeing the kids play with passion, play with hustle, and give something to the team. They deserve to be playing. They deserve to have that spot ahead of the others, which is what I really enjoy seeing.
Me too. Let's leave the basketball for a minute, because we're going to lose Marshall. Marshall, man of the match, coach's grade. Tell us before you go.
Man of the match has to be Pirola, and coach's grade, I would say a B. for not starting Yaremchuk in that tough game. Probably the only mistake, if I can say that, on the lineup. Otherwise, as I said, while starting the show, you need to have two teams to play a good game of football. Only one tried to play. It wasn't enough to win, but we're still leading the Greek league, and we still have the faith or destiny into our hands. And when you come back from back-to-back losses to Nantes, it's valuable, I would say.
Cool. Marshall, thanks very much for joining tonight, man.
Bye-bye.
Get some rest.
Yeah, you too. Bye, guys.
See you, mate. All right, mate. Do you want to do yours? Quick man of the match, coach's grade.
Yeah, I'm gonna get crucified for this. Man of the match for me was Kostulas. But bear in mind, everyone, before you crucify me for this, I was watching both the football and the basketball. And what that means is probably didn't watch either of them well enough, because my eyes was one eye here, one eye there. I was cross-eyed. But for me, Kostulas was the one that made the most impression on me. His passion, sort of running around, passion, energy. I remember this one bit where he sort of stole the ball, like tackled the ball, got the on the left as a left back, and sort of zigzagged through a couple of players, and got tackled at the halfway line, but sort of brought the team up with him. And it was just the sort of epitome of what you sort of needed, someone with a bit of oomph. And the game was just lacking energy and oomph. It was just lethargic. And Kostulas gave me a bit more in what I saw. So I think that's my man of the match. And I know it goes against what everyone's been saying in the comments, because they've all been saying that, you know, Ortega or Rezos or Pirola or something like that. But for me, it's him. Now, coach's grade doesn't even get a C for me. You can't pass based on that. I Dr. ASAP. Someone's calling me out already. I have 20/20 vision with the glasses, mate. So coach's grade, I think he gets C minus, D or /D. I had a lot of issues with today. First of all, the energy and the passion starts with the manager. You can't just expect it all from the players. You have to give them something. Like you saw, we were lacking. You saw how Stout FCSB were playing, and in the halftime, nothing really changed. I thought we actually got worse with the red card, which is surprising. You'd think that we go on and push on from there. Issue with not bringing Velde on before I'm bringing. Why are you playing Willian 35 minutes, big man? Like, what is going on there? Like, the man, it's what we've been saying. He's old. He hasn't come back to full fitness yet. He needs a bit more time. I would have played Velde earlier than that. And my biggest issue is what I've been saying for weeks now, is that we cannot break down a team that comes to play anti-football. A team that sits back and defends, we can't break them down. We fucking need a plan B, and it's infuriating that we don't. It's clear that we don't. And any team that watches us play knows exactly how to stop us from scoring or scoring a normal goal. Like the goal against Rangers was an excellent take by El Khabi. Do you know what I mean? We shouldn't have scored in that game. That was just a touch of class. And it's the same today. If it wasn't, if someone didn't sort of take the game by the scruff of the neck and produce a touch of class, we wouldn't have scored, and we didn't score. So for me, he can't get a C. You can't pass based on those things, in my opinion.
Okay. My man of the match is, it's between Pirola and Ortega, and that's what it's looking like in the poll that is taking place on our YouTube as well. We've got 36% voted for Pirola, around 24% for Ortega, 20% for Danny Garcia, and 20% for other. So yeah, Pirola for me, I think he completely took their striker out of the game. I heard a lot of good things about their striker. Didn't touch the ball. Didn't lose a duel. I think that's something interesting to look at in the post-match analysis. There'll be some stats, graphics coming out tomorrow, guys. Look out for that on our socials. Coach's grade, I'm going to give him like B minus, C plus. I think I said it already. I would have liked to see Velde come on instead of Willian earlier on in the game. I felt like Yaremchuk needed to come on earlier as well. I think El Khaby was a little bit out of sorts today, and it showed in that chance after the header where the ball dropped to him and he hit it with his right foot and skied it over the bar. Could you imagine if he was onside and he did that?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So like, you know, Marshall mentioned it. It's not the easiest job for the manager right now. I think he's still transitioning this side to the type of football that we were playing last season. It's starting to improve. You see the signs of improvement, but again, it's limited to those instances where we're playing against opposition that opens up, that doesn't park the bus. And the manager even admitted that at the weekend after the Ajax game. He said, we are better when we don't have possession. He admitted it for anybody that watched the post-match conference after the Ajax game. So that's going to be obviously like the big question mark for the rest of the season, right? And we're playing Offi this weekend, albeit away from home in Crete. Then we've got Galicia. We've got, I think, a 2-0 lead going into that cup game.
1-0, no?
Is it 1-0? I can't even remember.
I think it's 1-0.
I can check that.
I think it's 1-0.
Yes, 1-0 aggregate lead. Velda scored that goal. And then we've got Volos at home, and then we've got Twente. So, you know, home games there where we need to break oppositions down. But anyway, mate, it's late, but let's spend 10 minutes max, like talk some basketball. We had 6 wins on the trot going into today's game, playing against Partizan, who just came off a massive win against Zvezda. They were the away team in that game against Zvezda. We all know how massive that derby is. They were on 4-0, like losing streak before the Zvezda game.
They'd only won like 2 games before that Zvezda game, something like that.
Yeah, and they were on 4-0, like loss streak before the Zvezda game. And now they've gone and beaten us tonight. I didn't watch the game fully, but you know, Novozenkov, Dorsey coming back from injury. Fournier, as much as I saw him today, he looked pretty good. He looked a bit tired in the fourth quarter, but he was sick the last couple of days. I'm not worried. I'm not worried about the basketball team. I think like that seems to be coming together quite nicely. Feelings about today's game, like feelings in general.
It's what I said it on the Patreon group. So just a shout out to anyone who hasn't joined our Patreon. It's a great opportunity to chat with us and get exclusive content and get exclusive information. But it's just the most basic tier. You just join our Patreon group where we chat about all things Olympiacos. And I said it in there that I would have rather taken a win for the football team tonight than a win for the basketball team. Even though, you know, every win in the EuroLeague is crucial and it makes such a huge difference at the end of the season. It's just I thought basketball were in a good place and we can afford to drop a game such as tonight. It was just disappointing the way it happened because we were the better team for the majority of the game. We were leading, and then we didn't hit our open shots. We missed too many rebounds. And defensively, we were decent, keeping them to 78 points, but offensively, only 70 points. We struggled. There was no Vishenkov, and there was no offensive output. And
did you see this?
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree. That unsportsmanlike wasn't unsportsmanlike in my opinion. It's very obvious he's trying to stop the fast break. However, he's trying to stop it by going after the ball. I don't know what else he can do to make the foul without it being unsportsmanlike. I don't know what he could do. Like, what does he just try and take the charge? I agree with Southpaw. That was a big turning point. And couple of players that you touched upon. Dorsey, I'm struggling with Dorsey so far. I haven't seen anything.
No,
I haven't seen anything, and it's what the fans have been saying about Velde and Willian.
I mean, my opinion on Dorsey, I think we may have talked about this last season, but I'm not his biggest fan. I accused him of showing up in the regular season, but then like in the crunch games, whether it was for Olympiacos or in the national team. I just thought like, I'm not going to call him a bottler, just like he's not a big game player, like a
He doesn't have the
big game
cojones.
player.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's like, okay, someone will turn around and say, game 5, Monaco, he kills the game on the way to the Final Four. But I don't know. I don't know, man. I think that his mentality has improved since he was last with us, but that's always kind of been my worry with him a little bit.
I think his mentality has improved only because he sees a player like Fournier ahead of him. So he's like, okay, I'm not getting minutes because I've got a big name ahead of me. I think that's it. I think he can't complain when you've got Fournier ahead of you who's dropping 20 points average per game. You can't chat shit if you're not performing.
No, mate, the starting 5 for me is set. I like Vildoza walk up.
I like Vildoza. I like Vildoza a lot, man.
I really like him. He was my one to watch out of all the transfers we made over the summer. I was like, this one's going to be the one. Because, okay, you know what you're going to get from Vezenkov. You have expectations from Fournier, but that one was like, maybe one that was kind of left on the side. It's like, oh yeah, and we got Vildoza from Panathinaikos. Like, Vildoza's a fucking good player,
Yeah.
So, particularly, I think where we want to be like intense, like at the beginning of games. The first time we did it was against Panathinaikos, where he started Vildoza and walk up at the beginning of games, like high intensity, like pressure on the ball. He's fast. I like him a lot, man. I really like that lineup. Like, you remember at the beginning of the season, we were playing Fournier and walk up as our backcourt.
Yeah,
but
he was playing with an actual 3 at the small forward.
He was playing Papanikolaou.
He was playing Papanikolaou. I think in 1 or 2 games he tried Peters at the 3. We were playing with Fournier. We were playing with Fournier as one of the 2s at the 1-2 guards, and it just wasn't working. So I'm with you on that. I'm fully with you on that. The other one I want to touch upon, though, regarding to this game and a few games that I've seen recently, is I'm starting to worry about fall. I don't know how to pronounce it in the correct French way. Mustafa, Big Mus. Milutinov is clear of him at the moment. There was moments today where I was just like, get him off. Even if he's playing for 1 or 2 minutes to get Milutinov like some breather, man, get him the fuck off. I was really struggling with him today. That Serbian guy, whatever his name is, that Partizan had at the 5, was making him his bitch. It was painful. It was really painful. I don't remember what this guy's name was, but he was killing him inside, both with the body and outside from long range, from like mid-range.
It's the one that was running into foul trouble at the end.
Yeah, the one who ran into foul trouble at the end. And we're a different team with Milutinov in, man. We really are. Milutinov's having a really good spell. What? Yeah, that guy. And Fal's having a really, really bad spell. So it really should be a no-brainer. This is something that pisses me off about Barzokas. You do not need to play each guy 20 minutes. If Milutinov has the energy, if Fournier has the energy, if Vezenkov or Peters today, big man, Peters was excellent. Why is he not playing more minutes? Why do you always have to split the minutes? He wasn't splitting the minutes last couple of games. He wasn't. There were some big wins that we had, and the rotation was tight. Sometimes a tight rotation is not a problem.
Peters had 24 minutes today, 12 points, 8 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block, PIR 20. He had the best PIR. No, Milutinov had 23.
What more does he have to do to get 30 minutes? What more does he have to do? Because Vezenkov gets 30 minutes. Just give him Vezenkov's minutes. You do not need to play. You do not need to play with Pap at the 4.
Mate, yeah, McKissick had a poor game today.
McKissick had a very poor game. McKissick, Williams-Goss, and Fall were for me. Yeah. And Dorsey played very little. I don't actually remember him playing 5
minutes.
They were. Yeah. I think Dorsey sort of played in the first quarter and then sort of didn't play again.
But McKissick, when McKissick does that thing where he takes the ball and he tries to, it's not even ISO, but he kind of dribbles, and he tries to create his own shot. Yeah. You know that's not it. It's like, I like McKissick.
Well, no, if it drops, If it drops,
No,
it's
no,
in.
no, mate. No. Not even that. Not even that. It's like maybe like 1 out of 3. If you see McKissick roll around the screen and he's open and he takes it off the dribble, 1 out of 3, like he hits that shot like behind the arc. But then otherwise, like I like him catch and shoot. Like if he's in the corner, like 50% chance he's going to score. Like his shots improved. Or otherwise, you'll know what McKissick can do is like drive down the lane, like into the basket, like draw a foul, like take some gas, like some steam out of the game. But there was a stretch like 3-4 games he was fantastic for us, like as a sixth man. Today he's played 15 minutes, he's got 0 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. So you
Those are some
expect better
Tony
from
Parnell
him.
numbers.
Like to your point though, mate. Peters could have played more, but Barzokas loves McKissick too, man, and I love McKissick. Like we all love McKissick, but
He's my favorite player. But like,
yeah.
if he's not playing well, why are you playing? If Peters, this is what pisses me off, right? Peters was along with Milutinov, in my opinion, today. And I know Fournier had the numbers at the points, but like them two were our best players. How is Peters not playing more? How is he not playing the entire fourth quarter? I just don't get it. Unless he's asked for a sub, he goes, "Coach, I can't play anymore." But I think his fitness is fine, and most of his points weren't actually coming from a long way. I don't think he scored a lot of threes. This is the crazy thing. A lot of them were like off the drive. They were the cuts.
He didn't score any. He didn't score any.
He didn't score any threes. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So imagine if you have him in the fourth quarter and some of the open shots that we shot, he's the one taking them. Imagine if you have your best shooter taking your open shots.
Did he not play in the fourth quarter?
He came on. He came on towards the end. I swear, he wasn't on the whole of the fourth. He wasn't. He came on at some point. He didn't play him for the whole 10 minutes. And I'm just thinking to myself, he's your best player. He was playing small ball because Partizan were playing with 4 guards and 1 big. So I'm guessing he wanted to mimic that. But it's not like he's some really slow 4. He can play. He can defend against smaller guards. Like he's not super slow. It's not like a huge mismatch. So I don't know. It's just I think it's like what we call in Greek kolimata, like Barzokas and his sort of stickiness, where he just gets sort of stubborn and stuck with certain situations. That's my issue. And you see it.
It's the system. It's the system.
It's a system. But he's been more relaxed with that lately. This is my issue. He's chilled out a little bit with that, and we've seen the results of that because we've won a lot of really big games with a tighter rotation. So I don't understand why he's not doing that. Why he didn't do that today.
With him, he always looks a bit like further as well. He's like he needs to give minutes to the players so that they're ready, like at that crunch time in the season. So I think this is a game today against Partizan where I watched probably say half of it properly, but it's disappointing to lose it because like we were up in the first quarter, 14. Then mate, so like the breakdown.
Then they came back, but then we went up again. They came back. They went up by 2, and then we went up by like 10.
Mate, we started on an 8-0 run.
Yeah, and we were up like 23-9.
Obradovic, he takes a timeout, and then the quarter ends 25-16. And you're right, like we were up like 13 points. Then it ends in a first quarter 9-point game. Second quarter they win it 22-11. Then the third quarter's ours, and then the fourth they run riot, especially after the unsportsmanlike. But in the grand scheme of things, like an away loss to Partizan in one of the hardest arenas
the hardest away court to play in my opinion. Especially with a team that hates you. They were singing Bauk chants the whole time. I swear I could hear Greek chants. I felt like I was hearing Greek. They're fans.
Sure.
They're fans.
By the way, we've got Monaco next. We've got Monaco, then we've got Paris.
Yeah, we've got Monaco and Paris, don't we? We're playing both games. Both games away, aren't we?
Yeah, double week. So we play Monaco next week away, and then we come back. So I think we play them on Wednesday in Monaco, and then Paris on Friday. No. We go back to Greece.
Oh, we play them
on the Friday. Yeah.
So Spanulis' first game in the EuroLeague is going to be against Panathinaikos, and his second game is going to be Olympiacos. Man, it's written in the stars.
Mad. That's
It's written
mad.
in the stars. It's gonna be exciting. I'm excited for that game against Monaco. I actually saw him at CEF in his final ever game for Peristeri last season. It was the second semi-final of the Greek league. It was the day after Europa, the Conference League final, and we played Peristeri, and that was his final game as Peristeri's coach. But obviously, the ground was pretty much empty. Whereas this game next Wednesday, I have a feeling. I know it's in Monaco. It would have been great if it was at CEF to see like people give him the applause that he deserves and he'd expect. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited for it. But yeah, as you said, grand scheme of things, not the end of the world, but it would have been nice. It would be nice to sort of comfortably secure top spot and sort of lay down the gauntlet and just be like, we are the big dogs. You can't beat us, sort of thing. Like win the regular season and just go like basically instill fear in all the other teams that they just cannot compete. That would be the dream, but I don't think it's going to be like that.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried. I don't care if we finish first. I don't care about finishing first. Just get to the final four. I'm confident that we'll be in a playoff position, and I'm pretty. I have good feeling from what I've been seeing the last few games.
We can beat everyone. We can beat everyone and anyone. I agree.
Yeah, and I'm super really like what I've seen from Fournier as well. Just everything from the way he is on and off the court, like behavior on the bench, like what he does on the court, not just scoring, but like the assists and just, being a floor general at times during the games, like point forward, just pick and roll, getting some nice assists to the bigs and movement, the defense, like defensive intensity,
which is not what some you expect.
Bro, no, but like I hear it a lot in the commentary games that I'm watching on EuroLeague TV, and they're like, "Oh, it's not something you expect." But anybody that's been watching Olympiacos games week in, week out, you see it week in, week out.
Yeah,
he's not loose like on defense. Like he's not trying to. He's putting his body on the line. He's chasing like a dog.
Yeah. Which is what you'd expect from a dog system. But I swear to God, mate, tonight I thought my dad was gaslighting me. He goes, I shit you not. He literally just said, every time Fournier comes in, we lose. Like Partizan going to run. He was like, Fournier's it's been a really bad game for him.
I think it was in the fourth. I
was watching both things, and I'm like, fuck, has Fournier had a bad game? I was like, is my dad right? And then I looked at the stats, and I'm like, Dad, he's our top fucking scorer. I was like, are you gaslighting me? Like, what is going on? Like, how are you saying that? He literally said, he goes, Fournier's had a bad game in basketball and El Kabi's had a bad game in football. And I was just like, what's going on? Like our two best players. Overall, I mean, but yeah.
I think El Kabi had a poor game.
Yeah.
But
I don't think Fournier had a poor game. I was just gaslit into thinking that.
No, I think it's what I said at the beginning. Like, I think he had energy for the first half, and he played in the first quarter, did really well. Got some buckets in the third quarter, and then in the fourth, where
he got a tough and one in the fourth as well, didn't he? But it just wasn't.
Yeah, and he missed both.
He missed two free throws. That was crucial because he missed the two free throws. I think that was a bit where we were 6 points down. He hits the free throws, it would have gone down to 4, and instead he misses the free throws. They score, they bring it up to 8. We score, we bring it down to 6, but we can never bring it down again after that. So I think that was a bit.
But that's the way it is with that kind of player that wants to have the ball at the end and be that guy. Sometimes you're the hero, sometimes you're not. So it wasn't today.
And then he went down, he ran down the court and shot a 3 like within 5 seconds on the offense right after the 2 missed free throws. So it was like, he's just sort of try to take it on himself, and it didn't work. But mate, it's been an hour and a half.
Let's call it a night.
We're ready. Those were definitely not 10 minutes worth of talking basketball. They're about 25, but I'd take it. It's
wicked.
It's all good.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Dimitri.
Thank you, Costa.
Thank you to everyone that's been with us tonight. And we'll be back again on the weekend. We've got Offie away from home, so expect to see us on another post-match live stream on the weekend. I think, is it Sunday? Yeah, we play on Sunday against Offie. So yeah, before we go, guys, for those of you that are still with us, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. Make sure you get updates on new content, videos, interviews. Tune into our live streams whenever we go live. Hit the bell so you get notifications. Thanks very much. We are Three Los International, by the fans, for the fans. We'll see you next time, guys.